You're listening to This Week in Geek, and Feifei says, see ya, Space Cowboy.
Who disrupts my coronation?
Everyone has been destroyed because of this freak! I won't allow it! These babies just saved this lame fest party!
Hey guys, what's going on? You are listening to ThisWeekInGeek.net, and that's right, I'm back. I am one of the hosts this week, and for most of August, I am Mike the Birdman, but I am not alone as he begins to pack his bags and trek off into the sunset for about a month-ish. I am joined with my co-host from the land of Kitchener,
Alex the producer, who is so tired.
I cannot thank you enough.
It has been like, it's not just the last 2 months. This year has been so draining, which is weird because we're coming back from lockdowns, but it's just like, and a hot, crazy summer. And I'm just like, I'd like to sleep for like 2 months now, please.
Yeah, it has been a strange year. Now, for those of you that maybe this is your first show, maybe this is a returning show, who knows? Alex decided to let me have some time off from when I had my bariatric surgery, which was in May 26th. And he's like, take some time off, heal up, do whatever you got to do, get ready. You're going to come back in August. So I'm like, all right, cool. So things have progressed fairly well. I've lost a significant amount. The last time I got weighed, which was about a month and a half ago, because my wheelchair broke. I was down about 30 or 40 pounds at that time. Don't know what I'm at right now because my wheelchair just got repaired. Now, I've got two wheelchairs. I've got a power wheelchair, which supposedly I wasn't going to be able to find the part for months, but fortunately we were able to find it. That turns out they had a part locally that they didn't even know about, and they were able to fix it. Now, I'm still waiting for my manual wheelchair, which is how I was getting out to do all those wonderful things in the community. And like I went to theater for the first time in like 15 years, and that part is back ordered until at the earliest September. So I am missing out on most of the summer when it comes to getting outside of town, unless it's in the car, but I can't bring my power wheelchair with me because it just doesn't work like that. So.
Power wheelchair requires like a modified van because you can't fold up a wheelchair that weighs 300 pounds.
Yeah, exactly. It just doesn't work.
It's not just the wheelchair frame. It's that those big suckers have giant heavy batteries.
Yeah, so I was like, well, shit. But if you've been following my Twitter, my Instagram, and my TikTok, you see that I've been getting out mostly as often as I can. I've been playing a lot of Pokemon Go. Let's just say Niantic has gotten a lot of money out of me this year, but me and Blair play that all the time, having a fantastic time with that. So that's been a lot of fun.
Now, remember, Michael, I'm the one that suggested that when you get a new car, it should be an old beat-up pickup truck that we can wheel you onto the back of with your electric chair and tie you down like grandma on the Beverly Hillbillies.
Or like I picture the Terminator 2 where they have the guy in the pickup truck and there's the gunner in the back. Yeah, that'll be me. It'll be like my own personal warthog.
No, we need to get you a Pope mobile.
Yes. Actually...
Seeing that, like, I know we're not going to get too political or anything. When I see that, I laughed. I saw the Pope Mobile, and I was like, you know what? That's a perfect Michael Mobile. It's the right height because you sit higher in a wheelchair in a car, and it's like a golf cart we could drive you around in.
I'd like to know if they have a Pope mobile on like every continent. That would make sense to me.
They actually do.
I
Yes.
thought so.
They have one. I don't know if they have a permanent one in Australia and places. I would assume they do. I know that there's one in North America that the church holds on to. And they would have had to drive it up from whatever, archbishop has it or something in the States. I know they've got one obviously in Europe. I think they've got 3 or 4 of those suckers around the world. Now, don't expect it to be in China where religions like that is illegal.
Yeah, no.
But I would imagine maybe Australia, but it's so rare. It's so rare that he makes a trip there. But the Pope does a trip to North and South America, every few years, usually?
Something like that, yeah.
Now that he's old as shit, it's probably not happening as much, but there is definitely one in North America. They're not putting that thing on a boat.
Yeah, no. Actually, one of the things I noticed the other day as I was coming home, one of the things I've done since surgery is I've been challenging myself to do something new and exciting. And what I've been doing is I drove myself to the movies, which from where I live is about 5 and change kilometers from where I live. And I was listening to my headphones coming home the other day, and I was listening to Halo's rock anthem for Saving the World, which is the song that plays when you're doing the highway in Halo 2. It's that really upbeat Halo theme. And I was hitting every bump, and I was jostling around, and I was like, this is like driving a warthog, just really, really, really slow. It was so cool. But yeah, like I have healed tremendously well. I've been really, really busy. I applied for a job with someone fairly important. I have an interview next week. Got my fingers crossed for that. We're going to see what happens. And if that does happen, there might be some significant changes coming to the show. But if it does happen, that means I'm going to be going respectable. But don't worry, we're still going to keep the podcast going as long as we can.
You respectable?
I know. I'm actually going to have to dress nice, which is going to be weird. But yeah.
Sure. I'll believe it when I see it.
Yeah, I know, right? Like, just give me a polo, and I'm not going to wear pants. No, but yeah, it's going to be.
You have 2 choices. I can either wear pants with no shirt or shirt with no pants.
Yeah, choose wisely.
Choose wisely. It's a warm weather day, and we're going to get boiling.
But yeah, so that's been exciting. I'm almost done my college course that I started literally 2 weeks before I got my surgery date. So I'm just finishing that. And then I start my next round of courses coming up in September. I'm almost ready to graduate. Then I have a couple extra courses I'm just taking for not quite funsies, but just to kind of round out my education. So that'll be exciting. But that's not all that has happened. So about 2 months ago, I sent a letter into Kevin Smith's Hollywood Babylon. And Hollywood Babylon, for those of you that don't know, is the show that Kevin Smith does with his co-host Ralph Garman in Hollywood. This year, he decided to do a Hollywood Babylon at San Diego Comic-Con. And they read my letter that I sent into the show. And what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to play you part of a clip that came from that. I'm not going to play the whole thing because I'm going to go make you work for it. So if you want to go see the San Diego Comic-Con Hollywood Babylon, you can look it up on YouTube and Spotify. But here's just a taste of what Kevin Smith and Ralph Garman had to say. They didn't get my name right, but they got Guelph right. So I'm happy about that. So we will be back, guys, right after this. We're going to talk a little bit more, and then we're going to talk about what's coming up on the show this week.
Mike Askew from Guelph in Ontario, Canada.
Oh,
Guelph.
Shit.
You ever been to Guelph?
Yeah.
I never have. A longtime listener, Kevin might remember you from Comic Book Men as the Brony guy. Do you remember this guy?
Yeah, the Brony dude. Yeah, we did a whole episode where they went to BronyCon.
I was wondering if I could request something funny from my wife, Blair. She brought Tim Hortons to the store for taping, by the way. If we could have sexy Kevin come on to my wife.
Come on to her what?
Just come on to her sexually, like put a move on her.
Oh, I thought somewhere specifically.
No.
Piece of real estate with
pass.
Can I ask you a quick question?
Yeah.
And thank you to Kevin and Ralph for doing that shout out. What happened when Blair heard that? She walked into the room and she's like, "Are they talking about me?" And she was laughing quite hard at that. But she's like, "Oh, Michael, what if people?" She's like, "Ah, fuck it, I don't care anymore."
What if people? She's been married to you for over 10 years.
Yeah, 11 years as of last week.
You'd figure she would have lost all semblance of shame by now.
But say, yeah, this is what you get for being married to this goofy doofus in the media. But yeah, so that was fun. Like I said, if you want to go hear that clip, you can go check out Hollywood Babylon. It's available across every major platform. It was pretty funny and pretty fucked up. So what about you, dude? What have you been doing with my show for the last few months?
Nothing. No, I have scaled back what I was doing because it was too hot for a while. But what I was doing was catching up. I was trying to clear my slate. I was like, I didn't want to go into my vacation time with a lot of a backlog. So I blasted through whatever I could. And then I was playing a few things for myself. I played Stray, which in one of our hangout days, I showed you the beginning of. That's the cat game. And I beat that in one sitting, and it's about 6 or 7 hours, but I was thoroughly enthralled. I'll probably go back and do more and try to find all the little secrets and whatnot. Front runner for one of my games of the year, which is crazy. But outside of that, I played Live Alive, which is going to be my review for this week. Caught up on some movies. And then a lot of, stuff around the house, family stuff I had to work on and deal with. And that's pretty much been it. I've been sort of organizing things and trying to figure out what I'm going to be doing for my time off, as well as organizing like an interview or two that I might have in the next few months, as well as planning sort of what's our programming going to be in the future. My project while I'm on break, is I have 54 episodes of Earth versus Soup to edit.
Oh wow.
I'm not kidding. I took the show off of the schedule for episodes 99 and 100 so that I could get a new intro made and a new artwork made, so we can then put it into its own category on the website, because it's vastly overtaken what it originally was, which was backup shows and fillers for Future Imperfect. And I was like, it's kind of the main thing there on its own. It's its own entity. I don't want to just keep putting it under the same banner. So we're gonna go into the website and make a new category. I found out I can actually do a mass exodus of it so that I can split it into a new category. A lot of back end stuff that way. And I will have, by the beginning of September, we will have over a year's worth, maybe actually by then, maybe a year and a half of Earth versus Soup schedules. So every Thursday, you won't miss a beat. It'll be there every single week, and it will already be scheduled for a year ahead.
Oh, wow. That's Jesus Christ.
I mean, you can blame or thank or praise Aaron and Darlene over that. But I looked at he was like, here's episode 152. I'm like, wait, we haven't even aired episode 100 yet. And he's like, yeah, we've been watching a lot of stuff.
That's what I loves about Aaron and Darlene. They are workhorses to us, and I'm remarkably thankful for that. So speaking of programming, I will be taking over all the programming this month, but I'll also be working with Aaron, Ken, and JT. We're going to be doing Loose Cannons, Future Imperfects, the regular show, which will be airing on Mondays, guaranteed, because I'm going to record it on Sundays now. We're going to be doing, I think, Planet of the Apes, favorite space missions. Me and Ken are recording one this week where we're going to be doing a loose cannon where we're talking about weird kids movies. And I know we're going to be talking about the Page Master and the Problem Child series. So these child actor movies that were meant to launch bigger and better franchises that just never really went anywhere. And with Macaulay Culkin, there's that kid's got a wild story in and of himself.
You should do all those kids movies and then find out how many of those child actors are dead that you didn't know.
Oh Jesus. I know a couple of them have had some legal trouble, but I also know a lot of them have really kind of turned themselves around to either do something else or whatever. I know one of the girls from Jurassic Park, she retired from acting, and I think she's a painter of some note now. I want to say.
You were going to say pimp.
No.
She's a pimp now. What? There's a story I want to hear.
Well, she's certainly living it up. I think one of the kids from Home Improvement, either they're a big time music producer or they perform in a band and they're not half bad, but I can't remember which one that is off the top of my head.
That's like, what's his name? The older brother from Wonder Years is like a big time reality TV producer.
Yeah, like it's so strange just to see what people do once their 15 minutes are up. Some people adapt, some people don't. So we'll be talking
The smart
about that.
ones go behind the scenes and start making the shows that they own.
Yep,
right?
Or they start directing. Like
directing is good, but we all know it's about ownership
Yep.
of the content, right?
Yeah.
So the real smart ones got into ownership of, even if it appeared to be like a cheap, crappy show, the fact that you own it means that it's going to be useful for a streaming network.
Mm-hmm. We're also, before we get into what we're going to be talking about this week, Mia and Alex, he's going to take a day off from his vacation, and we're going to be recording with James Rolfe, who we do our annual Halloween show. We always record it during the summer because James gets so busy beginning pretty much now. We're going to be talking about Stephen King adaptations. We're going to talk about some of the ones that don't necessarily get a lot of airtime. I'm talking about the original Stand ABC miniseries that aired in the 1990s. I'm going to be talking about Silver Bullet and the original Pet Sematary, but I'll also talk about the kind of reboot as well. James has his picks, and Alex, you're going to be taking...
I'm taking the weird ones.
I'm
taking the Dead Zone movie / TV show, sort of a combined both. I'm also going to do the Langoliers, which is the TV adaptation that as a kid I loved, and we'll talk about it.
Yeah.
And my third pick was, I wanted to do one that I had never actually seen before, but I had always wanted to. And that is Quicksilver Highway. And that's a 50-50 sort of thing where one story and basic premise and setup is based on Stephen King, and the other is, I think it's Clive Barker. I'll double check. But it's a Mick Garris production.
So we should expect something pretty decent out of that. So that'll be recorded
even for a
week.
TV movie. It was surprising what they got away with.
Mm-hmm. So that'll be released at the end of October, and then we'll do a bunch of loose cannons that will be Halloween themed during the month of October. But before we get there, we have to do the rest of the show. So we are going to be taking a look at some reviews coming to us from Nintendo, one of their latest RPG excursions. We're also going to be taking a look at an original documentary, which oddly enough talks about Pennywise, the dancing clown from It. It is going to be called Pennywise, the story of It. It airs on Screambox and VOD platforms. And then we're going to be taking a trip to Hackett's Quarry with 2K games and Supermassive games on the Xbox Series X and their latest entry into that interactive movie genre. So we will be back right here on ThisWeekInGeek.net. I have been your host, Mike the Birdman. He's also producer. Well, let's kick things off with a Nintendo game. This is Live Alive right here on ThisWeekInGeek.net.
Alex here, and I have a review for the new Live Alive game, which is the Square Enix HD 2D HD, I don't know exactly how to pronounce it, RPG remaster remake, published by Nintendo. Nintendo sent a review copy over, and I spent roughly 3 days or so playing it. It is about 20 hours to beat. This is one of the Super Nintendo titles that we never got here. It was left unlocalized, left in Japan for years and years. And at points, it had been sort of an underground hit with the import community, with the internet community of RPGs, because it was sort of unique. It is similar to Octopath Traveler in that you're controlling 6 different people with different scenarios all throughout time with different slightly different gameplay aspects to them. And then after completing each chapter, you can go and select a different character and view their story. There was a demo release, and there is a demo, so you can actually play a few of the levels ahead of time, and you can carry forward your save, which is what I did. You have a ancient history or prehistory character that is like a caveman with no speech, so everything is done through pantomiming in that scenario. You end up with a power where you can sniff out where enemies are in items. That's sort of the unique part there. You have an Old West scenario, which is unique in that not a ton of Japanese RPGs have scenarios that take place in America. And in that one, the scenario story is you're trying to save a town from an attack from bandits. You have a ancient, or not ancient, like a feudal Japan scenario where the power is the ability to hide from enemies if you need to and avoid all attacks. That one, I decided to try to not kill anybody, and it turns out that makes it very, very hard to complete the scenario. So I had to sort of break my rule and beat a few people before I could actually complete the level because it was just too hard. There's a spot in that one where you're able to actually level up a little easier. So there's ways around it. There's multiple ways to complete each scenario. There is the China Shifu campaign scenario where you're trying to find 3 students. And interesting thing there is, depending on which student you train the most, it will change the outcome of that scenario and who you get to play as later on. There is also a present day scenario, and the present day one is made to be like a fighting game, specifically almost like a parody of Street Fighter. And in fact, some of the bad guys or people you face off in that scenario are like clearly supposed to be Hulk Hogan. And one of the fighting moves that you can learn from one of the bad guys is the Frankensteiner, which is Scott Steiner, Big Papa Pumps flip move, and from wrestling, and it's actually in the game, which is it's great. Somebody who translated it did a good job too. Then you have the near future scenario, which is made to be like Ultraman, with a full on kaiju superhero intro song, completely sung in English by the original composer. Then you have the far future sci-fi scenario where you're on a spaceship and it plays out a little bit like an alien murder mystery. And after completing all of those, the game gets pretty weird. Things combine, there's new scenarios, there's multiple endings with different characters. It's about 21 hours to beat the game. And then I put in another 10 hours to do half of the different endings. There's still some more I can get with some of the extra characters, and I'll go back and do that eventually. But I'm pretty happy with what I've done so far. The music is great. It's got a fantastic soundtrack. Each scenario has its own theme plus an overarching theme. You have visually, it's done in that same style as Octopath and Triangle Strategy, and it looks great. Like it's a 16-bit thing, but it's the 16-bit HD hybrid, and it's very well put together. There's been some quality of life updates, like there's a slight change to the true ending. I've heard. I looked and compared what it was originally to now. They've added some extra bosses. They've done some load balancing to some of the battles. It's not an overly hard game. You can die, and you will die, but not usually because of combat. Usually it's one of the other mechanics in the game that will make you lose, but you can. There are certain scenarios that are harder than others, but again, it's not a very difficult game. It's a very interesting game, and it is worth, I think, a look. If you're brand new to RPGs, you might find this a little more difficult to get into, but I feel like it's a really good snapshot into the mid to late 90s experimental phase of the 16-bit and going into 32-bit RPGs before everything went super polygonal 3D. This was one of those hidden gems that we're finally getting to see, and it's one of my games, like it's in my top 5 games of the year so far. I'm very, very happy with it. The only thing I can say that I was a little disappointed with was it's probably because the Switch is getting a little on in years. It had some shimmering, some aliasing effects that I feel on the screen would have been cleaned up if the Switch was a little more powerful. Because I know that's what happened with Octopath when it hit the cloud streaming and it hit Xbox, and that it cleaned up a lot of the lines. It might be just a resolution issue. It's only noticeable if you're really looking on the big screen. If you're playing on portable mode or on like an OLED, it looks crisp and clear. It's when you're like, I'm playing on a 4K TV, so it's blowing up a 720p image to that size. It's perfectly smooth though. It runs fast. I had a few loading hitches here and there, and that's probably because it's loading from my SD card. But overall, it's a pretty solid Nintendo Switch RPG release.
In a long forgotten place, Babylonia, the king was forced with his soul seal, and the heavens quaked to defeat and destroy the evil that now comes. Furious and righteous with the way. Hearts afraid with purpose true, call him to the fight. The king of kings, swift Titan, will give him battle.
The Prime Minister of Sweden visited Washington today, and my tiny little nipples went to France.
Gossip, rumors, panic in the streets. We're lucky.
This Week in Geek.
Welcome back to ThisWeekInGeek.net. I am Mike the Birdman. He's actually producer. First off, because we are recording this on Monday, August 1st, 2022, we do want to take a moment to acknowledge the passing of Nichelle Nichols. She played Lieutenant Uhura on the original Star Trek. I think she was 89, I think was her age when she passed away.
Yeah, she was just shy of 90.
Yeah, so she obviously has a long, amazing career. She was always kind to the fandom. She told Shatner to kiss her black ass at a roast, which was kind of funny.
And you never heard anybody that complained about her ever working with her.
Yeah, they always said she was really great.
And like I remember when she showed up and when they got when Seth MacFarlane got all of them back to do the voices for Family Guy. You remember how she was like, I'll distract him with my fan dance. Stupid fan dance from Star Trek 6.
Yeah, like she always had a sense of humor. And when I interviewed Walter Koenig about 7 or 8 years ago, I remember him saying that entire cast was like a big family. And I always got the impression that Nichelle was something really kind of special. And she's one of the few people I'm really sad I never got a chance to even meet in passing at a convention. So hopefully when the next new series of Star Trek comes out, they do a dedication of the series to her. I imagine Picard will probably do something because they're probably still shooting that now.
They dedicated the one episode of Lower Decks where they used archival footage of her.
Yeah.
So that's probably the last time we've heard her, even though it was previously recorded stuff directly on TV. That was pretty well done with.
You mean when she was on Prodigy, right?
Yes, Prodigy. It's right. Yeah. It was Prodigy, the Kobayashi Maru test.
Mm-hmm. Which that should be coming back, I think, this month or next month.
Yeah, so I wouldn't be surprised if the first episode of that has a dedication or something that they throw in, because that'll be the first new Trek since this happened. Mm-hmm. I also remember that story that she wanted to quit the show. And then it was Martin Luther King Jr. said to her, no, you need to do that. You need to stay on the show. What are you doing? Like, you're present. You're shown that you're a bridge officer, somebody of authority. on TV all across America, and nobody questions your race once or your gender.
Yeah,
And that's
remember
why
hearing that.
she stayed, because Martin Luther King told her to.
And look how far we've come now. It's kind of incredible.
First interracial kiss on TV, all that, and it's all just from that role where she said, and again, originally she was going to quit because she's like, I'm just a secretary, and he's like, no, you're the communications officer. You're in charge of people. That's a big deal.
Mm-hmm. So, thank you for your service. Thank you for being a part of so many childhoods, and you've inspired so many young people of color to pursue their dreams in STEM, and you will be missed.
Well, and women in science too.
And women in science, yeah. So we're going to start things off with a different kind of sci-fi franchise, though this isn't great news either. Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic remake reportedly paused indefinitely. This story comes to us courtesy of IGN. Development on the upcoming remake of Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic has reportedly been paused indefinitely after what appears to be disappointment over the current progress of the RPG. According to Bloomberg, Texas-based studio Asper recent internal demo of the Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic demo didn't land as well as it could have when it was shown to Lucasfilm and Sony. This has led Asper telling employees that the project would be put on pause and that the company would look for new contracts and development opportunities. Additionally, Asper fired the remake's art director Brad Prince and design director Jason Miner. The latter said on social media channels that the dismissal was unexpected. Asper had been working on the remake of the 2003 Star Wars RPG for the last 3 years before finally announcing the game in September 2021. However, after presenting a demo or vertical slice of the game to its production partners, Lucasfilm and Sony, it was followed by employees learning of the development pause and the 2 firings. Bloomberg reports that Asper studio heads told staff that the vertical slice wasn't where they wanted it to be and the project would be paused. While Asper's future involvement in the project remains unclear, Asper's parent company, Embracer, announced in May that Saber Interactive would assist in the project, and some Asper employees believe Saber may take over the project completely. Knights of the Old Republic remake was set to be released as a PC and PS5 console exclusive. It was touted to be a full remake developed from the ground up. Originally developed by BioWare, Knights of the Old Republic has been consistently regarded as one of the best Star Wars video games and Western RPGs. The teaser first premiered in Sony's 2021 PlayStation Showcase, and it was revealed that the original voice actor, Jennifer Hale, would be returning as Bastila Shan. According to reports, Asper was targeting a late 2022 release date for the remake, but insiders suggest 2025 was a more realistic target. However, it is now unclear how this project will continue.
Okay, so I have thought a lot about this in the last couple of days.
Okay.
Because there's a lot in this article to unpack, and I'll try to make it simple. What's not said here is that it was confirmed that before they announced that with an announcement trailer 2 years ago, it had already been in development for 3 years.
Mm-hmm.
So we're 5 years into development, and they fired the 2 heads of the production because of what they saw. Now, this can lead to a few scenarios. Scenario 1, the game was too faithful to the original, in that this is a company that Spire has never made a game from scratch. They are port people. They take games from one platform and port it to another. They go into the code, they will update it, make some tweaks, and then they try to make it work. So, but also they've had trouble now. Their last project they released, which was Knights of the Old Republic 2 on the Switch, was so broken, they had to tell people to not play the game until they patched it because you couldn't complete it. And it was released at retail. So they've had trouble recently where they didn't have that trouble before porting other stuff. So it's like they're stretching their team a little too thin. Now, scenario 1, too faithful to it. And what do I mean by that? I have a feeling. Now, some people might say, I'll talk about scenario 2, which is a vastly different thing. But scenario 1, this is where I think it went. I think they were producing something where the graphics were really good, really expensive, really high quality. I have a feeling they tried to replicate the battle system. And that the battle system is the worst part of Knights of the Old Republic. You know, that pause to do a command and then release, and then it just does things really fast.
Mm-hmm.
That worked on a PC 15 to 20 years ago. That is not what people expect from an RPG now.
Yeah, no, it's so different now. Like, you think about for me, when it comes to RPGs, I expect something like Persona 5 Royal or Final Fantasy 7.
If it's JRPG, yeah, or Final Fantasy 7 Remake. Now, a compromise could be, do they go the realm of, and what I think Sony and Lucas would be okay with is if the battle system was more akin to somewhere, not quite maybe the battle system you see in, what was the one that came out a couple years ago and it was really good? The one that was like almost Souls-like.
Oh, Jedi Knight Fallen Order.
Yeah, somewhere between that, but maybe not as hard. Somewhere between there and what Dragon Age Inquisition did, which was more button controlled, more like an action RPG.
Yeah.
With multiple party members, where you could switch between party members when you needed to by pressing a shoulder button, and then you control them directly. That would be fine. That's sort of what the logical evolution would have been. So scenario 1 is where I think if they were mad at the battle system, it's because they probably tried to replicate the original when they should have been using it as like in the spirit of, not as a direct copy. Scenario 2, and this is where I think a lot of people are saying, I think what they think what they showed was so high quality that and so good, but that they were so far behind because it was such a high budget they were putting into it. They're going to be like, hey, it's going to cost us another $50 to $100 million to make this. And then they're like, are you kidding? We'll never recuperate the money. So that's scenario 2. Scenario 3. Now, scenario 3 is interesting in that, what if they were making this game, they spent all this money, they were basically using this money to learn how to make a game because they've never really made a game from scratch before.
Mm-hmm.
And what they showed internally, they thought looked amazing and great, but they didn't have any oversight from Lucas or from Sony. They went in thinking it was amazing, showed it to Sony, and they said, this is a piece of shit. What the fuck have you been doing with our money for 5 years? And then heads rolled real fast. Now, they were working on this a few years before they were bought by Embracer Group.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'll bet you what happened was Aspyr thought they were doing a great job. Embracer didn't know how far along they were. And then Embracer got embarrassed when Sony and Lucas were so fucking pissed at them. And then they're like, fuck you, fired. Now, Embracer has so many studios. They're huge. Now they've bought up all these. They could pull in high-end talent from a bunch of their studios to rectify the project. A lot of people are saying that they're probably going to send it over to
Saber, I think?
Saber, which they also own. Saber is good at fixing projects, and I don't know if they have the budget to make this. You know who fucking doesn't have the talent to do this?
Who?
One of the 2 new studios that Embracer just bought.
Oh.
Ubisoft, not Ubisoft, Eidos Montreal or Square Enix Montreal that they purchased.
Well, that would depend. Now, didn't one of the
or Crystal Dynamics? They bought all 3.
If they did it like a Tomb Raider style game, but then again, then you're just doing Fallen Order all over again.
No, you get Eidos Montreal, the Deus Ex people, to do it.
I could see that. I could.
No, they have those 3 studios. Well, actually, the third studio, the Montreal, was more of a mobile one. But between Eidos and Crystal Dynamics has their own projects they're working on. Mm-hmm. The talk was they were already doing a new Tomb Raider.
Mm-hmm.
And the next project for Eidos, they were considering another Deus Ex, but they haven't officially started anything yet. And they got like 400 or 500 people at that studio who are experienced at making AAA games and RPGs. And, it makes me think that that's the only studio they have that's big enough, that's experienced enough, that came in. Like, they're the ones that came in and tried to fix Avengers. And then they ended up making Guardians of the Galaxy, and that was really good. So I mean, I could see them coming in to fix it, because if it's not them, then Sony might just go, fuck it. We're either going to cancel it altogether, or they'll outsource it, or they'll bring it in-house to one of their studios. And that would be that would be so much money lost for Embracer. So I feel like Embracer's going to go, hey, we've got this. And I think they're going to send in one of the big guns, one of the new studios, because I believe that deal already went through. I don't think it took as much to close the deal as some of these other huge acquisitions, because it was such a small acquisition, because they got it for like pennies on the dollar, those companies.
Yeah, it was a lot less money than I thought was actually going to change hands there.
Like they basically gave them all their IPs for the price of the yearly wages of all of their employees, which is kind of weird. Like, it was so low. But yeah, like, I think that's now, are we going to see this? Now, we're going to see this game. Some people are saying, oh, it's going to be like 2028. No, they've got so much money invested. They're going to try to salvage this. We'll see this game, but we won't see it till 2024 or 2025.
Yeah, I'm in agreement there. We might see maybe next year at E3 they'll do, or like a Sony showcase or whatever. We'll see another video.
I don't think so. They've completely scrapped the team, right? So
I think you might see something saying still in development.
We see it, I think it wouldn't be. I don't think it would be E3 in the summer. I think that might be Game Awards like a year and a half from now.
I could see that,
because that would give them, because you know how long it's going to take them. Like, if they give it to another studio, if they do that, like, how long is it going to take for them to get their bearings, see what they need to do, and also, like, what I think of those two guys that got fired, they weren't just pulled off the project. They weren't just demoted. They were fired on the spot. How bad was this project?
Yeah, I'd be very curious to see what happened. And I'm sure someone at, one of those gaming forums will eventually say something.
Well, and it's a public firing. Like, they publicly made it known that they fired both of them and named them. Are these guys ever going to get work again in the industry?
I don't know. It'll be for
like,
I
feel bad for them. Like, unless they did something horrendous. But, like, we've seen people retained for doing more terrible work. They don't care. So there must have been something, like, either somebody head up was lied to repeatedly by these guys, or they were just that inept at their jobs and they were trying to get by on it. Because if you did amazing work, but you went way over budget, they might, usually you wouldn't get fired for that. You would get demoted. They'd be like, okay, you can't handle the budgetary thing, but we know your art is good, so we're going to keep you here. They didn't even give them that option. They just said, fuck you, you're gone.
Yeah.
So I want to hear what happens there. Jason Schreier is one of these guys. Find out what that story was, because when was the last time you heard of a game director and the director of art both being fired?
Yeah, especially so close together. Like I said, I imagine something will probably come out in the next little bit. We'll have to wait and see. So moving on to our next story, this one also is kind of a downer. Super Smash Bros. Composer Kenshi Okuma has passed away. In 2008, Super Smash Bros. Brawl released. Even though 14 years have passed since, its legacy still lives on. The playable characters that debuted in this game went on to return with the rest of the cast in Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. A lot of the game's songs would be brought back in later Smash releases. One of the many composers and arrangers for Super Smash Bros. Brawl was Kenshi Okuma. Among Okuma's contributions were Gyromite, Pokemon Gym and Evolution, which
so all the first party songs.
Yeah, so he also did Pokemon Red and Blue, Flat Zone 2, and these songs all return in Smash Bros. 3DS and Wii U, as well as Smash Bros. Ultimate. Unfortunately, Okuma is no longer with us. It was confirmed on his official Twitter account today that he passed away on July 22nd due to esophageal cancer. He was 56 years old. Many people have shared their condolences, including Sakurai himself. Sakurai also said Okuma's legacy will live on in Smash 4 and Smash Ultimate. You can see the announcement as well as Sakurai's reply down below. It's in Japanese, so I can't read it. But he says, this article continues to read, all of us at My Nintendo News offer our condolences to Kenshi Okuma's family and friends. May Okuma rest in peace, and may the legacy he left behind in the game's soundtracks be contributed and be remembered for a really, really long time. Yeah, I mean, I've always loved the music out of the Smash Brothers games. Brawl was the first one that I ever really got involved in the competitive scene. Um, yeah, there are no other words to say other than
And
say that's a downer.
That's not a fun way to go either. Throat
No,
cancer.
yeah, I've seen not members of my family, but people close to me have had throat cancer. I've had mouth cancer.
That's
It's
what
unpleasant.
that's what Jeff Bridges had, and it took him. He beat it, but while he was doing chemo, he got COVID, and that's why we didn't see him for like a year. Now he's back. He's got a new show, and he looks a lot better. But like, that's the kind of that's not a it's not a I've got I got a mole I got to remove. That's not a fun kind of thing to go through. So again, like you said, at least there's going to be a legacy that's probably going to go on forever, because Nintendo's going to release music like over and over again. Now they're doing more and more stuff onto streaming platforms too.
Mhm.
So you're going to be able to experience it whenever you want to.
Yeah, so if you're out there playing Super Smash Brothers today, slap on one of these tracks in a little bit of tribute to him. However, we're finally going to turn this news train around and give you something a little bit more hopeful.
Let's list everybody
uplifting.
else that died in the 2 months you were off.
I know, right?
You
Jesus.
see what happens, Michael? You get surgery, you go on a break for 8 or 9 weeks, and everybody dies.
Yeah, like for example, today the voice of the Little Mermaid's Ursula passed away. So I just be doing everything. However,
and then a bunch of gangster actors. You got Ray Liotta, Paul Sorvino, the guy who played Paulie Walnuts on Sopranos, all within a few weeks of each other.
They all got whacked.
It's like, God damn it, what's happening? Stop
dying.
with it. COVID's supposed to be over. Stop dying of natural causes. People are supposed to live another 20 years. We're supposed to get those years back that we missed.
Mm-hmm. All right, so this one comes courtesy of ctvnews.ca. New glasses for the deaf and hard of hearing display subtitles while people speak. For his entire life, Josh Feldman had relied on lip reading.
Sorry, is it bad that my brain didn't work right? And I was like, what do they need glasses for? They're blind. And then you said deaf.
Yes. So for his entire life, Josh Feldman had relied on lip reading in order to understand what someone is saying. But this week, a new product that provides real-time transcriptions allowed him to follow a conversation without ever seeing another person's face. Having been born hard of hearing, Feldman had gotten used to lip reading while socializing, but it can be a struggle to keep up in a world that doesn't often accommodate those who are deaf or hard of hearing, particularly during a pandemic in which face masks have become a necessity. Enter the first pair of glasses that come with its own subtitles. It's called Nreal Smart Glasses. I think I'm saying that right. Feldman is one of the first to preview the glasses, seated on a sofa, wearing what looked like a pair of thick black sunglasses. He carried on a conversation with a man seated to his right. I guess that you're... Hold on, this thing keeps reloading on me. There we go.
I don't you hate that, those news sites that do that to you?
I know, it's like, piss off with your advertisements.
Or you've read your allotted amount for the nobody's gonna pay you to read your newspaper
like
anymore.
Piss on you. I guess that you're not more often than asking people, what did someone say? The other man asked. 100% Feldman replied without turning to look at him. It's about the changes that have come apart as having hearing loss. How is this possible? As the other man spoke, his words appeared in white text on the inside of Feldman's glasses, allowing him to read and respond in real time. The people who are hard of hearing would understand the feeling that I had when I had that conversation, which lasted about 5 minutes, Feldman said. Excuse me. And I didn't look at the person to my right once and solely looked ahead. It's a life-changing moment. A British startup called X-Ray Glass is behind the technology that could allow millions of people who are deaf or hard of hearing to see in-person conversations they cannot hear. The glasses use augmented reality in a phone app that provides live transcriptions. Currently, the app is only supported on Android, but the company is seeking to get approval for iPhone users as well. To have a conversation while you're not looking at the person you're speaking to, Feldman said, wow, Wow. He can read conversations he's having over the phone if the phone is on speaker so the glass can pick up the audio. And according to the company's website, it can translate any language. The concept is especially useful during COVID-19 pandemic, those who wear face masks cover up their mouths, making lip reading impossible. To have something like those glasses where it takes away the barrier of the mask, that they can actually see what's being said, that's really effective and would really make a difference to someone, said Terry Devine, Associate Director of Inclusion at the Royal National Institute for Deaf People. The technology isn't perfect. It's less reliable in a group setting where people talk over each other. I think the real breakthrough will be when we get smart contact lenses, says Dan Scarf, founder and CEO of X-Ray Glass.
Oh, that's 30 or 40 years away.
I don't know.
The tech that small,
yeah.
You really want where's it going to get the electrical charge?
Could you power it bioelectricity?
By your eyes? You want your eyes to send electricity to that thing?
Well, no, I'm thinking by the movement of you blinking. Could that generate enough current?
But do we have tech small enough to do that yet?
In the consumer sector, probably not.
Now,
in
where
military, maybe?
You know where we might be more likely to get that instead of that? Mm-hmm. Somebody who has a glass eye already, to have their eye replaced with
a true cybernetic,
a true bionic eye that can, if it couldn't see the regular spectrum, but if it could send the impulses to read something, it would be interesting. But I was thinking, like, where I see this going first? Movie theaters.
Yeah, actually, I was at the movies this last week. I went to go see DC's League of Super Pets because I'm 5. I saw a gentleman in there, and he actually had on the headset and the hearing aid piece.
Yeah. They have the descriptive video, and they have 2 types I've noticed. One's a descriptive video box, and that like sends a wireless signal where it, when you have like the TV and you put on descriptive video by accident, and it'll say everything that's happening for somebody who is hard of seeing. Maybe it's blurrier to them or whatever, but they want to hear everything plus all the effects. They also have a second one where all it does is it's for people that have like really hard of hearing, and it's just like having headphones plugged into your computer, where it pipes the audio directly into your ears.
Yeah. So the CEO goes on to say, this will be the thing that actually revolutionizes the space. Their very first prototypes are just coming out, and they will go mainstream within the next 2 to 3 years. The glasses will be publicly available starting in September. That's very cool. I really think that's really interesting. Like you said, movie theaters, once they figure out how to differentiate in a group setting, that'll be interesting. I'd like to see
what else?
What?
Weirdly enough, like things like Broadway or live opera. Like somebody might go who is very hard of hearing or even pretty much mostly deaf, but when you go to the opera, you can still feel the rhythm of the music and stuff and the singing, in your chest. And with Broadway and all that, but being able to, visualize and understand the play, like, and the advantage of obviously live theater is when they're pantomiming or going over the top, you don't necessarily need to hear them to see the whole play. You know what I mean?
I think I remember seeing somebody when I went to go see Mamma Mia at the beginning of June. I think I remember seeing somebody with the hard of hearing thing too. Come to think of it,
they'd have that, but for somebody again who maybe couldn't, couldn't hear at all, right? You'd want to have something where, especially not so much for an opera. Usually, you can get away with just seeing the actions, the miming of it, but it is going to open up a lot of opportunities. What that would also do, think about this. Let's say you're at home, you have a family member who's deaf. But you want to watch TV together, but you don't like having the subtitles on the TV. What if you could just send the subtitles to their glasses and you watch the same program?
Yeah.
Right? Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like it would, because let's say you don't want to have the bottom of the screen pop up, or that's distracting to you because you need to feel immersed by watching it. well, then anybody who has the glasses on could then just get the subtitles, and you don't need them. So there's going to be lots of options. I think that's going to be something that becomes very big in the next 5 to 10 years.
Yeah, and I really hope it does. So this last story comes from Alex. He found this on gamesindustry.biz. MGM loses the Tomb Raider film rights and a bidding war has now started. The movie rights for Tomb Raider are currently up for grabs after MGM failed to greenlight a sequel. The Wrap reports that the Hollywood giant had until May 2022 to approve a new Tomb Raider film, but its failure to do so means that it lost the rights to the IP. Multiple anonymous sources have told the site there are several movie studios now bidding on the property. The film rights reverted to GK Films, which acquired them in 2011 from Square Enix and produced the 2018 film based on the 2013 reboot of the game franchise. GK Films is now considering the offers from other studios. The 2018 Tomb Raider film earned just shy of $275 million at the global box office and starred Alicia Vikander as Lara Croft. However, Vikander is reportedly no longer attached to the series, with the Wrap sources claiming the next film will be a complete reboot. The news follows Embracer's acquisition of the Tomb Raider IP earlier this year when it purchased Crystal Dynamics, Eidos Montreal, and Square Enix Montreal for $300 million. Speaking to GamesIndustry.biz, Embracer Group CEO Lars Winsfors, that's a hell of a name, said film is an increasingly important area for the organization. My belief is that gaming is a superior way of capitalizing or monetizing an IP in entertainment, but gaming is not necessarily always the best way to market an IP. And I think TV and film is a fantastic way of building an IP, he told us. Excuse me. Combining them is highly interesting for us. With that said, we don't own any film studios or film production companies, so now we're trying to learn. Last year, Netflix and production company Legendary announced they are working together on a Tomb Raider animated series. Meanwhile, Crystal Dynamics has already begun work on a new Tomb Raider game built in the Unreal 5 engine.
Okay, I see this going a few different ways. Embracer is a European company.
Mm-hmm.
I could see them going with Europa, which is Luc Besson's company.
Okay.
Could you imagine how, like, a very crazy kinetic Luc Besson, like Fifth Element style thing, but Tomb Raider, or like the Transporter, because he made those movies.
I could see that. I mean, I think keeping it grounded to the 2013 reboot storylines probably the best idea. And honestly, that Alicia Vikander looks really like the reboot Tomb Raider Laura. I would keep her.
She was good. I don't think her contract was with MGM.
Yeah.
So that's why it's not that she quit. It's that when MGM lost the rights, they lost the rights to her contract. So they'd have to contact her again. It's been a while. Like, that movie was fine. I enjoyed it. It was fine. But it was nothing exceptional. How funny would it be if Sony wants in on it? Which is funny because the rumors are that the reason Square Enix sold Lara Croft along with all the stuff from Square was because they were looking to buy Square. And Square they didn't want any of their properties. So who knows? Like, I mean, MGM is still going through its own tribulations. I don't know if the acquisition has been finalized from Amazon.
I was about to ask you, like, what's going on with that?
But if MGM has lost this, I don't know if Amazon would want it. So,
well, Amazon doesn't have any animated stuff that's their own. They've got
they do.
What's their biggest live action?
Invincible. Animated?
Right?
You said animated.
Yeah. Invincible. Yeah, you're right.
And that's big.
And I think
people are waiting for more.
And I think there's a boys one happening.
Yeah. So they've got a few things, but movie studio wise, if it's a studio that wants to get in on this, you know what? I honestly see Entertainment One owned by Hasbro, right? Like, E1 could get in to make this. They're not going to go huge, crazy budget.
No,
because and if I had maybe thought that Sony might have wanted it in the past, look how bad Uncharted did and how bad they handled that.
Yeah, like Uncharted should have been a fairly decent home run because the games are beloved, but they messed up the story.
They wouldn't let their own studios run the game, like run the movie. So I don't see like Disney Fox wanting it. I don't see maybe Universal.
I could see Universal doing something with this, actually.
More so than any of the other big studios. I mean, they had a hit with wait, was it Paramount or Universal that did The Lost City?
That was Paramount.
It could be Paramount then too. But it's all going to depend on who they like. I could see them wanting to retain more ownership and more control over it now that like Embracer owns the games and everything.
Mm-hmm.
So if they're going to go with a European studio, it's probably got to be Europa or one of these independent. Like they might crowdsource, like they might do the classic thing, which is gather a whole bunch of European billionaires to invest in making a movie, which is how they used to do like all those old Dino De Laurentiis movies and all of the 90s like crazy French action movies were done that way. So I could see them doing that unless somebody like Apple comes in and is like, hey guys, we want to make a 2 or 3 picture deal and put it on Apple TV Plus. Because they're spending like $50 or $100 million a movie now.
But I was gonna say, yeah, like if it went to the right platform, it could be really good because like Netflix is cutting back unless it's like Stranger Things and that ends next year or whenever.
Does Warner go, fuck? It's all going to depend on how well the Last of Us TV show does. Does Warner go, hey, HBO would like you to make a miniseries?
That'd be really good. I'd rather see a Tomb Raider miniseries where you can actually get into the backgrounds.
Like a 6-part miniseries, and the 6 parts are basically like chapters of the game.
Yeah, that'd be pretty legit, actually.
So I mean, there's options. I feel Tomb Raider has a better chance on the streaming platforms now than it does in theaters, because it's proven it's not as big of a picture as the game companies would think it is. So I mean, I'd like to see a good theatrical one, but like if they were to put $150 million into making a theatrical Tomb Raider movie, would you care enough to go see it?
Me, yes, but only because I really enjoy the Tomb Raider stuff. But
the
as
2018
a whole,
film did not make money.
No, it's one of the better video game adaptations, but I can't tell you anything about the marketing.
$275 million it made at the global box office. I bet you it probably only made $50 million after the marketing that they had to do for it. So I just feel like it's the kind of thing, like, you know what? As weird as it sounds, the Tomb Raider always reminded me of that amazing, I say that TV show. Remember Relic Hunter?
I do, actually.
It was basically Relic Hunter with a higher budget. And speaking of, I actually have a Relic Hunter prop in my house somewhere. My uncle gave me. He worked on the show. So I've got like a bongo they used in one of their scenes where it's supposed to be somewhere in Africa, but really it was like a lot in Toronto. But like, I would love to see that. Like, maybe it doesn't have to be super high budget. Don't have to cast Alicia Vikander or something. Cast a new girl and make it like a fun, action adventure show.
Yeah, like you said, if they did it in the same vein as The Last of Us, make it a 8 to 10 episode series, see what happens after the first season.
And don't spend so much money. It doesn't have to be gritty, crazy, dark reboot. Like, maybe make it like a fun, syndicated type show, like a Lost World type show, or like what's that other one? Remember Adventure Incorporated with Michael Biehn? He had a show where it was them going on adventures trying to, steal things. Do a fun show. Lara Croft doesn't have to be a dark and gritty shit. It can be a fun, goofy shit. I don't know. That's just me. I just don't see it making. I don't see it making money for most companies, and like you have to put a very low budget into it to make money, because didn't the last Tomb Raider game not sell that well either?
I don't recall, but I know it went on sale fairly quickly
Like,
afterwards.
wasn't it the one? Wasn't it the reason like Square was pissed that it didn't sell?
I
Like,
think so.
Like 10, they wanted at least 10 million copies, and it didn't sell that.
Yeah, I'm not sure what its final sales totals were. I know you can get it pretty cheap, and like I think you can get all 3 games for like $30 on the PlayStation.
I have to play them. I own the first 2 on Xbox.
Yeah.
That came with my Xbox. I just never found the motivation to play it.
The first 2 are fantastic. The third one I didn't get a chance to get into, despite pre-ordering the special edition
And
on
I think
Xbox.
I think your experience is what a lot of people had. They bought it and then either played it or never beat it.
Yeah, I was just like, I want to play this. I love these games. The puzzles are just the right amount of hard for me, but I had so much else coming out that year. I think that was the year that Red Dead came out. I think Fallout 76 came out that year. The Call of Duties.
There was a ton of stuff all at once, and it just, yeah, like not to make the story sound longer. It just, I don't know. I'm on the fence about this. Like MGM losing the rights to it. I don't know who wants to pick it up. I think they have to have another hit game.
Yeah, it needs something in the media to bring people back to the IP. And I think a television show is a good start. It's cheaper than making a game.
Why don't we make a Lara Croft Tomb Raider VR where it's a remake of the original Tomb Raider in VR, where you are jumping and you're trying to escape the tiger and all that shit?
That could be fun, actually. Or maybe take some leads from the Assassin's Creed people and turn it Lara Croft into a history device, because I know there's a mode.
Oh, I know what you mean. Yeah,
okay, in Valhalla and Origins,
like almost like a Where in the World is Carmen Sandiego, but
with like Tomb Raiders. Yeah, that could be fun. I mean, hell, I'm pretty sure Alicia would come back to voice that. Hell, you could even go tap on what's her face's door. What? That's gonna bug me now. Angelina Jolie. You know what? She would voice it.
Yeah, or do you go? Did they have anybody that voiced the games back in the day, like the originals, or no? She was pretty much a silent protagonist in the.
They did have. Right? She did talk a little bit. It wasn't until the PS2 games I think she really got a voice. But
I think what's kind of ruined her for some people is how much they hyped the original series of, like, they promoted the original series by having her in Playboy. Like,
I remember that actually.
It's a hand-drawn character. Like this, it's the same BS they did with Final Fantasy Spirits Within, and I feel like that ruined the chances of that both properties being taken legitimately for years.
Yeah, when you start to sexualize a character, characters can be sexy, and that's fine.
A character that was being sold to children back then.
But it's not great optics. So hopefully Lara Croft. Yeah, so hopefully Lara Croft will see you again in the future. In what form you'll take, who knows? We'll wait and see. So that's going to do it for this edition of the Nerd News, only on ThisWeekInGeek.net. But we're going to take a break, and we're going to take a look at something that's premiering on Screambox right now, and that is a new documentary. If you love Stephen King and if you love It, and this is something you're definitely going to check out. This is Pennywise, the story of It, brought to you by me. So I'll be back right after this with the weird news right here with Alex, only on ThisWeekInGeek.net.
Hi, Georgie. Aren't you going to say hello?
I'm not supposed to take stuff from strangers. My dad said so.
I, Georgie, am Pennywise, the dancing clown. You are Georgie. So now we know each other.
Hey guys, this is Mike the Birdman here, and I'm here to talk about something really cool we got in our inbox recently. The good folks over at Screambox sent us a copy of Pennywise, the story of It. And what this is a 2-hour documentary based on the original 1990 ABC miniseries of It. So this documentary has Tim Curry, Richard Thomas, Seth Green, Tommy Lee Wallace, and so many more other people involved in the production, and it's focused solely on the 1990 miniseries. The only thing that is not featured in this is any new interviews with Stephen King, as I guess he just didn't participate in this one, but I don't know how often he does interviews to begin with anyway. But yeah, so this 2-hour documentary really goes in depth with this, and it does talk about some stuff I didn't necessarily expect him to go into as in depth as it did. It does talk about how Jonathan Brandis passed away in 2003 after his career didn't take off after Hearts War. But there is the person who plays Henry Bowers as a child. It talks about how intense he wanted to focus his bullying in the movie because his dad never believed in his dream to become a performer, but when he landed this, his dad fully embraced it, and he started to get kind of choked up and talking about it. It also talked to the artist. I think his name is Brandon McCrane, or the guy who played the fat kid, quote unquote, the guy you might remember from some of the McDonald's commercials. It talks about how he wanted this to be more than just a comedic role. And he talks about how in one scene in the miniseries, he offers sugar daddies to him. And he said, come on, guys, really? And he's like, no. Here's why he's doing it. And Brandon was like, okay, I get that. All right, sure. But it also talks about some of the other actors. This features wonderful interviews with Tim Curry, with the special effects team, with people from the production team that I didn't necessarily think I needed to hear from, like the editor, the producers. I didn't even know this was filmed in Vancouver, which I thought was tremendously awesome. So yay, British Columbia. It talked about the different effects houses, and it even acknowledges that Night 1, which is the stuff that happens when they're kids, is much better than Night 2 because of directors. I also didn't know George A. Romero was in conversations with this project for a fairly long time, until they shrunk it down to just 2 nights, and they wanted this to be like an 8 to 10 hour miniseries at like one point. And it's just neat. There's even a deleted scene that they talked about and they filmed where the Derry Fire Department brings Georgie's body up to Mrs. Denborough's house, and you can see that the arm's missing, he's dripping blood, and the girl's talking about screaming. That is... I really hope there's a director's cut of this ABC miniseries out there and it eventually gets released, considering how well the newest theatrical movies did and the HBO Max series that's supposed to happen at some point. No, overall, this is very good. I am so very glad that I watched it. And if you go on Twitter, if you go to @screambox.tv, you can stream this for free because there's like a 30-day trial if you want to check this out. And I'm very curious to see what else is on that service, because I do subscribe to Shudder, and that's got a lot of really good stuff. So I guess I'm going to have to check out Screambox and see what else is on there. But ultimately, if you want to learn more about Pennywise the Dancing Clown and what went into the 1990 miniseries, then this really can't be missed. I'm very glad I spent these 2 hours in Derry, Maine. So once again, that is Pennywise, the Story of It, and that's available only on Screambox and other VOD platforms.
Here I am, Wheezy. Won't do any good to run, girly boy. Oh, come back anytime. Bring your friends.
Go crazy?
Don't mind if I do.
Human sacrifice, dogs and cats living together, mass hysteria.
Welcome back to ThisWeekInGeek.net. I'm your host, Mike the Birdman, joined with Alex, producer. All right, so it's time to talk about the strange, unusual, the just plain fucked up things that happened around the big blue marble known as planet Earth this past week. And we're going to start our first story coming to us from BoingBoing.net. Chucky doll walks down the street, horrifying passersby, but it's just a 5-year-old in costume. There is a video if you do want to see it. 3 women were driving home from work in an Alabama neighborhood when they were faced with their biggest nightmare, a real-life Chucky on the sidewalk. They all began to scream and circled around a couple of times to get a better look at the killer doll from the horror film Child's Play. Fortunately, it turned out to be a 5-year-old in last year's Halloween costume enjoying a bit of, well, Child's Play. From an article that was posted in today, Kendra Walden said she thought she was hallucinating. When we got closer to him, we saw that it was real, she said. It scared the heck out of us. Warren told today that everyone in the car was screaming like little kids. When we circled back, the boy had his mask off. I quickly popped it back on and crossed the street after we passed Walden told today. We turned around again, and that's when we got the photos. Walden uploaded three photos to our Facebook page of the encounter. Dear parents of the little boy in the Chucky costume in Pinson, Walden captioned the photos, "Get your kid, I almost had a heart attack." The boy's mother eventually saw the Facebook post and assured everyone that yes, it was her son having some fun, and yes, his grandmother was nearby watching for him the entire time. That's great, honestly. It makes me think of in Chucky season 1 when Chucky was looking for Jake and he wore the Hello Kitty mask and he's in still the good guy overalls and he's like, "Hey, grandma," and all this shit. That's amazing. Which,
what they should have done is the kid should have stood there at the car when the car slowed down and stopped to take a picture. He should have ran towards the car.
I think, you know what? This would have been great viral marketing for Chucky season 2 in some capacity.
Or if the kid was standing there, hands behind his back, as they drove by, and then as they slowed down, he reached from behind his back and pulled out a big butcher's knife.
Or hands them a copy of like season 1 of Chucky or something like that. Like this would have been, like I said, great viral marketing. Unfortunately, because it's involving children, I get the optics.
Well, instead, why don't you just cast like a little person to wear it?
I guess as long as the little person's okay with it. I mean, that's what they use for some of the stunt casting anyway. But yeah, I mean, that's funny. Like that's really brilliant. Just this little kid decides he wants to fuck with people, and well, he certainly got the response that he wanted.
Timmy, what do you want to do today? I want to go outside with grandma and fuck with people.
In Alabama, of all places. Now, instead of scary clowns, we get this.
I'm just picturing a grandma in the park, like 30 or 40 feet away on a park bench, smoking a cigarette, and just sitting there watching the kid and laughing and laughing and laughing.
Oh, yeah, same here. Which, by the way, if you want to see season 2 of Chucky, that premieres in October, I believe. In Canada, it'll be on Showcase, likely again.
Did they film it up here again this season?
That I'm not 100% sure of. I would hope so.
Because I know they did it because they got special permission during COVID to do it. But I wonder if the continuity is going to match.
I don't know, because I know they're at like a military academy this year.
I was going to say it's not the same. It's not the same set this year. So
yeah, no, they probably filmed some stuff last year before they left the area.
All the establishing shots, that sort of thing.
Yeah, so looking forward to it. The trailer looks good. So this story is something that I picked up this morning from ctvnews.ca. Passenger fined $1,874 after undeclared McMuffins found in luggage. A passenger traveling from Bali, Indonesia to Australia has found themselves paying a hefty price for a McDonald's breakfast. The unnamed traveler was handed a fine of $2,664 Australian dollars, or equivalent to $1,874 US, after 2 undeclared egg and beef sausage McMuffins, a ham croissant were found in their luggage, arriving at Darwin Airport in the country's northern territory last week. The incident came about days after Australian authorities brought in tough new biosecurity rules after a foot and mouth disease outbreak in Indonesia spread to Bali, a popular destination for Australian tourists. Australia's Department of Agriculture and Fisheries and Forestry said a range of undeclared risk products, including fast food items, were detected in the passenger's rucksack by a biosecurity detector dog named Zinta. This will be the most expensive...
Zinta, the biosecurity dog, sounds like the most awesome cartoon from 1994.
This will be the most expensive... Macca's meal this passenger ever has, Murray Watt, Minister for Agriculture, Fisheries and Forestry, said in a statement. This fine is twice the cost of an airfare to Bali, but I have no sympathy for people who choose to disobey Australia's strict biosecurity measures, and recent detections show you will be caught. Strict biosecurity measures. The statement went on to confirm that the passenger had been issued with a 12-unit infringement notice for failing to declare potential high high-risk items and providing a false and misleading document. The seized products are to be tested for foot and mouth disease before being destroyed. Australia is an FMD-free, and we want it to stay that way, added Watt. Last month, the federal executive government of Australia announced a $9.8 million biosecurity package with new measures introduced across the country's borders, including sanitation foot mats at all international airports and biosecurity dogs stationed at both Darwin and Cairns Airport after the highly contagious disease began spreading through cattle in Indonesia. Experts estimate that an outbreak in Australia could bring an economic hit of up to $80 billion. Travelers arriving from Indonesia will be under much stricter biosecurity scrutiny due to the presence of foot and mouth disease in Indonesia, read a statement released by the Department of Agriculture, Fisheries and Forestry on July 19th. Failure to declare biosecurity risks will mean a breach of Australia's biosecurity laws, and anyone found in breach could be issued an infringement notice of up to $2,664. Travelers entering Australia on temporary visas may have their visas canceled, and if so, will be refused entry into Australia. And then it just goes on to talk about the disease. Yeah, $80 billion? Holy shit.
Well, it's one of those things that can spread pretty quickly, and if they have to shut down businesses because of it,
and they'd have to destroy the animals, right?
And remember,
we had that, didn't we? At one point.
Well, yeah, but it's a little different. We've had that and mad cow and a few things, and it's disruptive. But you got to remember, Australia, while a continent, it's still a single country island. So, if their cattle and if their food animals get wiped out, they got to import every single. They got to not only import food, they got to then find breeders to bring clean, new cattle and stuff in, and livestock. Can you imagine having to replenish your entire country's livestock?
Yeah, just what kind of an undertaking that would look. I mean, even right now with all the shipping things.
With here, it's the amount of land, right? So, and similar in populations, but if the Alberta livestock got wiped out, it would hit us bad. But you know what we would do? We'd be like, hey, Montana, we need more livestock, and then we would pay them, but it wouldn't be having to ship the livestock for weeks on a boat and hope they don't die. It would be, hey, we'll drive them up to you. It'll be there in 2 days.
Yeah, that's ugh.
Right? So, we have the advantage of having the most livestock for food, between Canada and the States, anywhere. So when we had the mad cow, it cost us $1 billion. Mad cow, or something like that, if it hit Australia, that kills their industry.
Yeah, that's a country destroyer, all things considered. So yikes. Hopefully this doesn't become a big thing and they can get the situation control in Indonesia and it doesn't spread. So this next story Alex found, because why wouldn't he?
You're welcome, world.
Pothole penis painter returns with rubber duck stunt as roadwork vigilante scene grows traction.
Now, say that 10 times fast. Pothole penis painter.
A road safety vigilante who attracted national attention for spray painting green penises over potholes has now resorted to rubber duck stunts on social media after threats of police charges. Jeff Upson says he's continuing his campaign to draw attention to the terrible state of many stretches of New Zealand highways after it emerged this week's residents in Auckland's Rodney district decided to fix local potholes themselves. The Rodney residents sent a bill to Auckland Transport for the do-it-yourself sealing of up to 20 potholes on local road and posted about their efforts on a local Facebook page. Auckland Transport said they will not be paying the local residents' maintenance bill. Fellow road worker vigilante lives in, I can't pronounce this name, Puapaka or something.
It's you're forgiven. It's a hard accent to deal with too. I'm just picturing him saying, "Oh, you're not going to repair my roads? Well, draw you a bunch of dicks then."
Yeah, exactly. Take that.
How do you like these dicks?
So
and they're not small, they're neon green dicks that he paints over the whole street.
Yeah, so fairly close to the Rodney district in the north of Auckland Legion, says the road quality is also terrible there. A lot of gravel roads here look like that. If I wanted to take a photo of a pothole, I've only got to drive a few minutes to the nearest gravel road, he said. But on the sealed roads, I drive to Old North Road or Kikatika Flat Road, I can't say that again, most days, and they've both got potholes, and they've been there for a long time. They've got they're not new potholes. They've just haven't formed this winter. They were there last winter, and they've just opened back up again. The 31-year-old Aucklander has been continuing to draw attention to the massive potholes on Auckland roads this year on his Facebook page. Jeff Upson, road safety campaigner, after he was stopped by police in mid-2021 from spray painting green penises around them. A letter from Helensville police on August 27th.
30s.
He's got the balls, I'll tell you that much.
He's going to have a legacy. What was your legacy? Dick painter.
Dick painter and rubber duck vigilante.
It'd be like, oh, he's a road. It'll be like on his gravestone, road activist, and then somebody puts beside it, Dick painter.
A letter from the Helensville police on August 27, 2021, issued Upson with a formal warning for the willful damage of property charge that is punishable with 3 months in prison and a fine of $2,000. I think the reality is police attend crashes due to the unsafe road surface, and the police can appreciate that. Myself and other locals in the area are very angry that the roads are not being maintained to a sufficient safe level, Upson said. You know, behind the uniform, they're real people and they get it. They have to deal with the aftermath of people crashing on unsafe roads. Upson now films himself throwing yellow rubber ducks into dangerously large potholes full of water after it has rained. He says his new, less provocative pothole stunt came about after Auckland Transport contacted him. They were going to charge him thousands of dollars to water blast the green penises off the road. Obviously, we all know I've drawn the giant green penises on the road, Upson said. My drawings were always 100% within the damaged area of the road surface. So every bit of my drawing, every bit of my paint has now been removed as part of that repair process. So they just had done the repair like it's their job, then spray paint would have been removed. And in that fact, I haven't drawn anything recently.
Yeah.
In all the areas.
How ironic is it? It probably cost them more to get rid of the paint than it would be to just fill the holes.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. And he goes on to say, and all the areas that I've drawn have been completely dug out and repaired. But they thought it was appropriate to leave these big potholes and bumps and jumps and undulations, but water blast off my spray paint. But Upson says he's not actually had to pay the Auckland Transport maintenance bill. The road safety campaigner says his new rubber duck initiative is having great results both on the roads and with the morale of Kiwi motorists. And then he goes on to say this final thing. The idea is that there's something not actually marking the road, and it's not actually gone down really well with the kids, as I know. I know last time with the penises, 99% of the people absolutely loved it and thought it was kind of funny, but there was the 1% of people who were offended. At least this way, nobody's offended. The kids love it. They're talking about it with their parents, and they're like, hey, that's the rubber ducky guy. One of Upson's rubber duck videos has garnered over 100,000 views on Facebook, and another video he posted recently led to the swift repair of a bad pothole near his home, he said. How cool is this? I was sitting in line for the KFC drive-thru a couple of nights ago, and I'd done a long day at work. I think it was 7 or 8 at night, and I hear this yelling. I turned down my radio and turned around, and there's this guy sitting in this car, and on the other side of the car park yelling, rubber ducks, you're the rubber ducks guy. And I thought, how cool is that? Somebody I've never met has recognized me from my Facebook video, so I gave him a rubber duck, and I think he gave it to his kids. That's pretty cool. And I seem to remember there was a similar campaign, but it happened here in North America, and it wasn't green penises or rubber ducks, but I think it was Domino's Pizza was filling in potholes, and they were donating pizzas or something. Like, do you know what I'm talking about?
I'm looking it up right now.
Yeah, I seem to remember.
Paving for Pizza Stunt 2018.
Yeah.
Corporate pizza chain building goodwill with small change in towns and yada, yada, yada. Oh, they had painted the side of an asphalt truck with Domino's Pizza. Domino's has chosen the world of urban renewal. Back in June, the company announced it would help a handful of American cities fix some of their economic... It said it handed over cash to municipalities across America, arranged for workers to repair cracks and potholes, and a Domino's logo was spray painted on some of the newly smooth streets. Okay, so they provided a truck that was painted with Domino's logo and everything to the city. The city workers would they paid for it, they'd fill the potholes, and once the potholes were filled, and not just patched like really lazily like a lot of times they do or everywhere, where it's just like a patch. If it was properly smoothed, they would then spray paint Domino's logo on top of where the pothole was to show that it was done.
I'm glad they at least got some of the road work done. I mean, I'm sure
and not like a permanent, like they'd spray it, it would stay up for enough time for like the local news to show it, and then it would wash away with the rain.
See, and that's at least some corporate company doing something good. I mean, yeah, it's self-serving, but hey, it's something.
Hey, yeah, step up your game, Pizza Hut or Pizza, or CC's or whatever other crazy pizzas are in the States.
Oh boy! So our last story, and this is so totally Alex. This comes courtesy of the India Times.
Now we both found this though in separate articles. So yes, you found an Alex article.
Yes. So students in West Bengal are using flavored condoms to quote unquote get high. Students in Durgapur, West Bengal have been addicted to using condoms, but with a twist. According to a report, the students are not using condoms as a contraceptive, but for a very bizarre purpose. According to a report in News 18, the sale of flavored condoms has sharply increased in several Durgapur neighborhoods, including Durgapur City Center and a bunch of other names I really can't pronounce. A shopkeeper discovered the reason for the surge after questioning a regular buyer. Shopkeepers of a medical shop in Durgapur told News 18 earlier 3 to 4 packs of condoms were sold daily, and now packs of condoms are disappearing from a store. Soaking condoms in hot water for a long time breaks down large organic molecules and creates alcohol compounds. This compound is keeping the youth intoxicated, said Durgapur RC College Model School chemistry teacher Nural Hogg. Superintendent, I can't pronounce this, guys, but he's a sub-district hospital told this newspaper there's some kind of aromatic compound in the condom. Alcohol is produced by breaking it down. This aromatic compound is also found in dentries, so many are seen to be intoxicated with dendrites, I guess that's how this is. With this, condoms join the list of easily available items which are unlikely candidates for substance abuse, such as drinking cough syrup, hand sanitizer, aftershave, sniffing glue, paint, nail polish, whiteners, and even eating Iodex on bread. The West Bengal police have not yet reacted to the issue. Still, officers recently stated that they could not book any drug addicts since there is no relevant regulation in the Indian Penal Code. Furthermore, per the police, products like whiteners and cough syrups do not fall under the Narcotics and Psychotropic Act because they only contain small quantities of sedatives.
Also, spermicide is a poison, technically.
Yeah, I mean, you'd have just... It blows my mind that people will go to that length.
You go to your local dealer. You Holden? What do you want? Cherry?
Yeah, or grape.
Or cherry or grape. No. I want that banana dick.
I mean, like, from a pure chemical standpoint, like, to break this down via the science, I'd like to know what the quantities are, how they're doing this, like, because
it's probably a chemical in the spermicide. Well, spermicide, the chemical with it, and then something from the plastics that's turning the organics in the latex, and this is like jankum. You heard of that before?
I think you told me about this before. Yeah,
it's where people poo in a they poo in like a water bottle, and then they let the fumes permeate. It happened in Africa, and people were getting high off of sniffing like fermented poo. And it happens a lot of times in countries where alcohol is illegal.
Yeah, I was about to say this is like very Breaking Bad, where they're taking an everyday thing and turning it into something else.
Yeah,
I mean,
you generally find this in areas where access to regular drugs is either harder to find but especially in countries where alcohol is banned.
See,
and
this makes me.
India is not big on alcohol. It's same with like this is the kind of stuff you find in like the Middle East, because for religious reasons they don't drink, but the kids want to find something. So they end up finding something way more dangerous.
It kind of makes me wonder, and this is just me going off on a tangent, would this lead to industrial theft at like some point?
Yeah. This is like a similar story. Wasn't there a story a few weeks back or a month or two ago where there was that business in Hong Kong that was shut down, or business in China that was shut down because they were selling used condoms?
I don't recall that.
They were rinsing out used condoms and selling them by the thousands in boxes to people, but pretending that they were new. Gross. But they were cleaned up, but it leads to even more legal troubles because you're selling condoms that don't have any spermicide.
Yikes.
So yeah, like there's industrial theft maybe, but I don't know if it's happening in the one town. If it becomes like a province wide or region wide epidemic, I could see it happening. It would be hilarious if that happens, to be like, what are you doing? What are you people doing?
There's going to have to be some kind of a strategy with the police force, with local manufacturing, and hopefully nobody's getting hurt. That's my big concern.
Think about that. If it spreads over to North America, I don't know. Well, the States might be different now, but like here in high school, even when I was in high school and you were in high school 20 years ago, you could just walk into the guidance counselor's office
and just ask.
I don't know. Well, you see, yours was an ask. Ours was different here. They just had a candy jar.
Oh yeah, it was like right by the
guidance counselors, like the secretary. You'd walk in and then like they would not even look up at you. You just walk in, and you could grab a handful of them if you wanted to, and it was there because, like in Ontario at the time, like late 90s, early 2000s, we were going through a chlamydia epidemic where it was happening so much that they were just like, here are the condoms. We're not going to even talk to you or make eye contact. Take the damn condoms. But could you imagine if that happened here? You'd be like, wow, all these kids are having sex. It's the third day in a row that our candy jar was emptied. And then you see these kids back getting high. You'd be like, what the fuck are you doing?
Yeah, it's a strange world, and I don't understand it. And that's why we talk about it.
We used to take the condoms and blow them up like balloons, and then like blow up a whole bunch of them, and then throw them down the hallway that led down to like the girls' change room. Or we blow them up and we'd be in class with a supply teacher and we'd be bashing them around like a beach ball. Like, what are you doing? Oh my God.
I was I don't think your school did that. That might have been a my school thing. No. When I was younger, obviously we did dumb things too. I was quite the skilled balloon animal artist once upon a time. Not so anymore. I watched a lot of really weird videos. I'm like, oh, so that's how you make a dog. So anyway.
Out of condoms.
Out of condoms.
Yeah,
so,
and you know what? As silly as it is, like we're joking about it. At least they were available to us, and we might have misappropriated their uses, but not like that.
Yeah, no. So anyway, folks, I guess long story short, be safe. Don't do anything terrible. So we're going to take a brief break here on This Week in Geek, and we're going to talk about the latest game that I had a chance to check out from 2K Games. If you're looking for something to do and you want to enjoy some campfire stories, then, well, you're going to learn about the Hag of Hackett's Quarry and what that means. This is the Quarry from 2K Games and Supermassive Games on the Xbox Series X. We'll be back, guys, right after this.
Yeah, Hackett's Quarry forever!
I just want to get you guys safely out of Dodge before the sun goes down. Damn it! I thought I told you kids to check everything.
Look, it's not that big of a deal, okay? We'll just spend one more night here.
No! No! Just stop. Let me think. Okay. Make sure that everybody is inside the lodge for tonight. Lock the doors. No one in, no one out. No, got it? I'll be back first thing in the morning, and we'll get you all on the road.
Hey guys, this is Mike the Birdman here, and well, I am back from vacation, back from healing, and it is time to talk about one of the most perfect ways to spend a weekend in video game land. The good folks over at 2K Games and Supermassive Games sent over their latest game called The Quarry, and this is sort of a spiritual successor to the game that came out in 2015 called Until Dawn on the PlayStation, which I really enjoyed. And this one takes the story of a summer camp that it's just starting to close down for the season. Everyone's going home, but then of course shenanigans happen, and this one has a fairly extensive cast in it. Like, a lot of people you're gonna recognize. You'll recognize the kid from Detective Pikachu, but he was also in Jurassic World Dominion, I think, just recently. You see Bishop from Aliens. You see Ted Raimi, who, you know, he's Sam Raimi's brother, but I think he did Xena and Hercules. And just a lot of other character actors you're going to recognize from television and film. And what you get is a journey that starts out as a ghost story, ends in a really weird place, but it's so much fun that it was very hard to put down once the game gets kind of rolling, as you're introduced to this huge cast of characters, and not everybody has to survive to get what's, I guess, considered the good canon ending. But you're also collecting evidence, you're starting to put together pieces as the game goes on. And you can also play this game with friends if you want to, too. I didn't get a chance to play with that option just because nobody I knew had this particular game among my friends list, but I have recommended it to a few other of my friends. You can also play this in a mode where everybody lives. There's a mode where everybody dies. And then there's an option called Director's Chair where you can preset behaviors. I didn't get a chance to play around with that option, but because I got the digital collector's edition, I got something called Gore Fest. That's exactly what it is. So yeah. But you can also gain this option called the Death Rewind feature, where you get basically 3 lives. So if you want to go back and replay a certain character's fate, you can do that. You may lose significant progress at one point. I did have that happen to me, where if I wanted to save this one character's life, I'd have to replay a very large part of the chapter. And you know what? This character got what was coming to them. So sorry, not sorry. But no, The Quarry is a wonderful experience, and you can go through this game multiple times. I've read this game has like 186 possible different endings, depending on what you do in the game, what evidence you find. There are podcasts you can listen to. I think it's called Bizarre Yet Bonafide, and they talk about the evidence you collect at the end of the game. So make sure you're looking at everything in this game. Leave no stone unturned. Look for those tarot cards. They will help you at certain points, and I'm probably going to play through this game again. It was a tremendously fun time. I know this game will go on sale, and it's something that I can easily recommend to you if you're a fan of this particular genre of game. I don't think you're going to go wrong with The Quarry from 2K Games and Supermassive Games. This one gets a massive recommendation from us here at This Week in Geek.
Anyway, maybe just ease up on the ghost stories.
Sorry.
Just stick to Kumbaya next time, okay?
What's that?
You guys don't do Kumbaya anymore?
All right, guys, we are back here on ThisWeekInGeek.net with Alex doing some fact checking. There's a link in the episode below. Wow.
I'm not crazy. I didn't make
He's
it
not
up.
crazy. So the things you learn, we live on a strange planet, and I want to get off. So that being said, this is Alex's last live show until pretty much the first week of September, and then he'll be back. You might hear his voice during a couple of reviews during the month, but don't worry, he's not dead. He's in the Alex Odin sleep for the next little bit. That means I will be taking the show. The plan is, as of right now, I'm going to do the weekly show on Sundays. You'll have that for Monday mornings. I'm going to be recording alternating loose cannons and future imperfects with Aaron, Ken, and JT. I'm going to try and get 1 or 2 of those out a week. So you're always getting at least 2 shows a week from me. You'll have Earth versus Soup, which that'll be coming out soon. And then whatever other content just happens to come our way. Maybe some interviews might be scheduled during this time. I haven't really committed to anything as my schedule is just starting to open back up. I have a pretty big job interview coming up soon. So like I said, that may affect things on the site. I don't know yet. I'm going to say no until otherwise given notice. I'm always staying busy. If you guys want to like play Pokemon Go with me, I would most certainly welcome some new friends. Me and Blair are almost always outside kind of playing with people, so I'm just going to load up my game right now if you want to get my friend code. And if you want to Poke Hunt with Birdman, my trainer code is 3028 1370 3017. I like to raid, so it's a lot of fun. So if you want to help get some shinies, that would be great. And yeah, I'm always available on the socials at Birdman Dodd, TikTok, Instagram, and Twitter. And I guess before I go, Alex, big thanks to you for taking care of things while I was gone. It definitely did a lot for me healing. I said I'd stay healing, but I got surprisingly busy. But that really helped me mentally. And that really got me physically more active. Like I started playing basketball outside on certain days when it's not like death hot. So it was really nice to get out there and see the world again.
What we need to do is get you on your manual chair so we don't have to worry about getting wet, and then just spray it down with a water gun fight or something.
That was the plan. We were actually going to go to what's known as, there's this local watering hole or like a splash pad.
Oh, a splash pad? Yeah.
Yeah, and it's called the Mecha Flower. And the Mecha Flower, I could have rolled my manual wheelchair out there, and I think the water gets turned off at like 9. So we were going to go there some night at like 8:30 when it's like near dead and just turn the thing on and just hose me for like half an hour. And that would have been glorious.
You see, when you say hose you, we're not hosing you down like a horse or something.
You know what? I would take that. I really would. Actually, one of the most coolest memories I ever have, I was living in Hamilton. This would have been about 15 years ago now. There was this giant thunderstorm, and this woman in a hijab was walking home, and she got soaked. I'm like, you know what? Come up on our porch. So she stood with us, and these college kids come running out from this house across the street in their boxer shorts and start having a shower and washing their hair in this huge torrential downpour.
Dude, I have done that.
Oh,
and I've done that on vacation where we went outside and I was like, I'm just not going to take a regular shower. I'm going to go out in my swimming trunks and just wash my hair because it was so strong. So I've done that. I've laid down on the road when it was so overflooded and let it carry me away for like a good half a kilometer.
I remember growing up in Owen Sound, we'd get these freak thunderstorms sometimes, and just the things you'd see getting caught out in the rain were kind of incredible.
Question for you. What's
yes.
the worst thing you've done with a water fight?
Don't splash the girl you like repeatedly. Let me tell you that one. Oh yeah, that didn't turn out too well for me. I got shot with a Roman candle once.
Oh, that's cool.
Oh, it hurt like hell because it got caught under my man boob.
Oh,
so I got a wicked chemical burn. I'll have to show you sometime. Oh yeah,
there's a couple of great videos of people do. Like, I mean, don't do it at home, kids. But
no,
there's some great videos of Roman candle fights, and like I think one of them was like Chicago or Detroit, and what it looked like was like found footage wizard battle, and it's just like all these kids. They wait till a cop car drives by, and then there's like 20 kids firing Roman candles at each other in the streets, and it's like I'm just waiting for them to yell like Expelliarmus. They're just like firing laser beams at each other and shit.
I remember one video very much like that I saw, and it looked like the future war out of like Terminator, because it was just blue beams going back and forth, and I'm like, this is like Skynet. This is wow.
And Roman candles, in the scheme of things, are not overly dangerous. Like they're okay.
Oh no, they are dangerous. Do not do this.
Do not do it. What I'm saying, these aren't people holding like, they're not holding high-end fireworks in their hands, right?
Yeah.
It's still dangerous as shit. So like, I feel like when you see people doing that, the part of your brain that would be fearful for their lives doesn't kick in as much as it would with other fireworks.
Yeah, like obviously there's people that are injured every year with like fireworks.
So don't do it.
Yeah, don't.
But the worst thing I ever did, well, it was not worse, it was more like revenge. There was a bully on the neighborhood, and me and my friend, when we were having water fight, like it was like a neighborhood water fight, all these kids throwing stuff, and there's always the one bully that was kind of an asshole. So we filled a few water balloons with a solution of water and 50% lemon juice and rained hell upon his face. And again, it was, teach the bully a lesson, stop picking on kids 4 or 5 years younger than you, sort of thing. And he's like, he's crying. It's like, take that, bitch, rain from above. So it's that sort of stuff. And nowadays you get in big shit for that. But you know what? The bully never tried to bully the kids on the street again.
That's true. I mean,
because he never knew if he was going to get a water balloon full of lemon juice in his eyes.
Yeah, I mean,
not enough to cause any real, like, lemon juice doesn't cause real damage, but it's going to sting.
Yeah, it's going to suck. So obviously, I don't endorse any of this, but at the same time, don't take any crap either.
The statute of limitations is 25 years done, son. So
that's true. So I hope, Alex, you have some good restful time. I know you are going to come over and hang out when the weather breaks, so I'm looking forward to that. So
yes.
Again, thank you for taking care of the show. I will be starting my ever vigilant watch as beginning of the night.
Now my watch has ended. My dwindling energy watch, where we went from 3 or 4 programs a week to 1.
So it'll be good for you. So go eat a sensu bean, go rest up, do whatever you got to do. So until next time, folks, don't throw lemon juice into someone's eyes unless they're a jerk off.
Unless they deserve it.
Unless they really deserve it.
And don't do it as an adult to some kid that's a bully. Let your kids.
Yeah.
Here's the secret. If you don't have kids, find a kid on the street that you do like.
God.
And give them the lemon water balloon and have them beat up the bully on the street, but then deny it entirely so that nobody believes them if they get in trouble, because it's a lot easier to arrest an adult for throwing a water balloon with lemons on a kid than it is to have another kid get arrested. Just Alex's quick tips.
I do not endorse this, man. Anyway, for This Week in Geek, we have been
Alex, the producer.
I've been Mike, the Birdman, saying until next time, folks, be excellent to each other as much as you can. All right, we'll catch you guys next week right here on ThisWeekInGeek.net.
Well, that's our show. All right, here's the deal. Every time you watch my show, I will send you $40.
Checks will not be honored.
You've been listening to This Week in Geek, your source for guaranteed nonsense or your money back. Tune in next week for more info on the most important things you didn't need to know. Check out our website at ThisWeekInGeek.net and subscribe to our podcast through iTunes or any podcatcher. If you'd like to comment on this episode, head over to this episode's post at ThisWeekInGeek.net and leave a comment through Facebook Connect. Follow us on Twitter at ThisWeekInGeek.net and follow our Instagram at twig_official_podcast. Social media not your thing? Send us an email at feedback@ThisWeekInGeek.net. We'll see you next time, and remember,
lower your shields and surrender your listenership. Just when you think this show is terrible, something wonderful happens.
What?
It ends.
I have to go. Somewhere there is a crime happening.